Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Bible Illustrated Hands. Today's episode will be tad different. This is too thick, I can't work with this, right now at least. And I should emphasize immediately that today's episode is a bit of a misnomer because while this is something that I hate about my subscribers a lot, this is also something that is common to people in general. So, I suppose if I sifted my life as well, I would be guilty of this as much as anyone. But before we start, a small joke that a lot of you probably already know, but I like it a lot, and this describes this mentality that I'm going to rant about perfectly. So, a man is about to jump from a bridge, and this guy runs up to him and tries to convince him not to do it. And he says, "Don't do it, man. Do you believe in God?" And the suicide-to-be says, "Yeah, I do." And he says, "Hey, I believe in God too. Tell me, are you a Christian?" And the man responds, "Yes, I am." "Oh, wow, what a coincidence. I'm a Christian too. Tell me, are you Protestant, Catholic, Orthodox?" And the man says, "Well, I'm an Orthodox." And of course, every denomination has their version of this joke, but I'll go with the Orthodox one. And he says, "Wow, what are the odds? I'm an Orthodox as well. Tell me, are you Russian Orthodox, Greek Orthodox?" I'm a Greek Orthodox." "Wow, me too. Are you old calendar, new calendar?" "I'm an old calendar." Man, this was arranged by God Himself, because you see, I'm old calendarist as well. Are you with the Cyprianites or Mattheanites, or whatever they're called? And he says, "I'm with Cyprianites." Oh, wow! I am like, I think that we're the only ones in the U.S. Tell me, do you bow before the icon of the Holy Trinity or not? And he says, "No." "Well, I do. Go to hell, you heretic." So that's the joke. I love it on so many accounts, because this is something that I have talked in the podcast, but well, I touched upon it briefly. But for those of you who don't listen to it, I really despise when we, me included, as I said, when we are willing to discount whole corpus of what a person is doing based on something little that they do, like a minor mistake, or they support a party that we don't like, or I don't know, things like that. Because there is always be something that we do not particularly like about a certain person, but then we are willing to completely disassociate from that person, to dislike them, to trash them, to gossip about them, and so on. I made the example of, ironically, James Charles, because his entire audience was willing to turn up on him the split second some unwholesome things were said about him, that even in the end did not turn out to be true. But the point was that none of his fans, or well, a surprisingly small number of them, weren't there to say something like, "Hey, wait a minute. Well, okay, he's not a perfect person. None of us is, and so on." And I will try to be more specific about what I'm saying, and I call this the coffee cup of Christian doctrine. And yes, this is just ordinary water, because I've had so many coffees today that if I had another, I think I'll die. So, what is the coffee cup of doctrine? Personally, I like to separate the importance of Christian doctrine into three tiers. The first is the liquid, and this is the most important thing. These are the most important things. Our entire faith depends upon these, and they're absolutely non-negotiable. Here you have the Trinity, the incarnation of the Logos. Here you have the two natures of Christ. Here you have the teaching about the resurrection, of the coming judgment of God, about the church, about the sacraments, and so on. The second tier is really important, and it is non-negotiable, but it's still sort of derivative from the first tier. Here you have things like that marriage is, between man and woman, that abortion is murder, that, things like that. Again, these are very important. These primarily deal with the ethics, how we deal with the world at large. And finally, the third tier is things that, while they have impact upon our lives, they're not really that important. Things like new calendar, old calendar, whether you believe in evolution or literal 7-day creation, whether toll houses exist. These are the toll houses. This is rubber that doesn't even touch the saucer. Okay, fine, but you know what I'm saying. Like things that don't really impact our religion that much, and that is why. For example, I was so adamant against the toll houses because I don't think that belief or disbelief in them doesn't change literally anything. Like nothing. So again, but I don't want to get into that discussion. Things of this tier also include our positions on political parties and a lot of political issues. For example, I don't know. I would say our stance toward protection of the environment, but it's not even that important. For example, our stance on ecumenism can also be this third, but depending on how hard someone is fighting against ecumenism or is supporting it, it can turn to like the second tier, but rarely third, or rarely the first, that is within the cup. I'm simply ranting, these are my thoughts. However, what I tend to notice is that people tend to take the things of the third tier, of the saucer, to be of exact same value of the water tier, of the liquid tier. Like, for example, you say that you support or oppose evolution, and people will react to you as if you have rejected the Trinity, For example, if you oppose the evolution, then you're, a stupid fundamentalist who and if you support it, then you have rejected the fathers, You're for Hillary, you are for evil. You're for Trump, you're for evil. There is this great Serbian fable. Actually, how do you call it? It's not a fable. It's not even a fairy tale, but, a story about it's an ethical story that is called you cannot please the world. This probably isn't an original Serbian story, but I read it in the school book when I was little, so I simply assumed that it was a traditional Serbian story, and it involves a father and a son that are walking with a donkey, and they pass a man, and he comments, "Oh, this is such a shame. The two of them are, completely ignoring. There's a perfectly good donkey next to them. Why isn't one of them riding?" So the father gets up on the donkey, and the next passerby says, "Oh, look at this old man while his poor child is walking next to the donkey." So then they switch places, and the next passerby says, "Oh, look at this ungrateful son letting his old man walk while he's riding on the donkey." So both of them get on the donkey, and then someone says, oh, these two cruel people, they're torturing the donkey. And the father remarks, you can't please the world. This is such a great story, and I love it a lot for reasons that should be apparent to everyone. And well, my time is essentially up, but I think I said everything I just had on my mind. Sorry that I didn't answer any special questions. This was just something that has been annoying me for the past week. And sorry, and I hope to post something more useful to you soon. Bye.